This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before.
Donald Trump celebrating perhaps the greatest political comeback of all time, elected the 47th president of the United States.
Now that Donald Trump has been elected, what can we expect from the real estate market? Well, let's start with recapping his policies, and then we'll go into seeing how that will affect real estate. Then we'll move into seeing how that affects you personally. And lastly, what could all this mean for potential investors? Something that is interesting to remember is that Donald Trump and his family built their whole legacy and all of their fortune through real estate. They started with single family homes and eventually moved into commercial, casinos, and hotels. So they do know a thing or two about real estate and why it's so important to the American economy. Okay, let's start with reviewing all of his policies. I'll go into each of these in detail, but let's just do a quick recap. So one thing he wants to do is he wants to eliminate certain regulations of new homes to help the cost. He also wants to open up federal land for large-scale housing. He wants to ban mortgages for undocumented immigrants. And he also wants to give tax incentives and support to promote first-time home buyers. So all these sound really good, but let's dive into them and see what they would actually do to the market. So one thing that I know he is really open about and really adamant about is potentially lowering the interest rates. Now, interest rates right now aren't super high, but they're definitely not the 2 and 3% that we were used to during the height of the pandemic. And now, even though he doesn't directly control this is the federal government or the feds who control this. He could do other things in the economy to help entice the federal government or the feds to lower those rates. Now, yes, that would drastically help people looking to buy real estate because now they can afford a normal home with a little bit lower of a payment. But the one thing that this could do, and we've seen it time and time again, is it'll actually create competition for buyers. So now you kind of get into a situation where we were in the pandemic where, you know what? All of a sudden, home prices are starting to rise a little bit faster because rates are so low, demand is so high, and economy 101, if you have a high demand and a low supply, it raises the prices. Another part of his proposals is he wants to eliminate certain regulations of new homes to help the cost out for home buyers. So yes, that does sound like a great idea. If you lower the price of the home or if you lower the cost to build it, in theory, that should be passed on to the consumer. But what I can actually see happening is the builders just actually pocket that extra money and still keep the prices of those homes the same. Another question that I have, and something that is very legit, is could the quality of these homes actually be lowered if a lot of regulations that are important be taken away? We've all seen the videos of how inspectors will go to these new homes, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. It doesn't matter. And there's so many things that are wrong with these houses that shouldn't be wrong. One interesting proposal that he has is to open up federal land for potential large-scale housing. Now, I made a short about this not too long ago, and someone commented something very interesting saying, isn't that just considered, the projects? So let me know down below, what does this sound like to you? Does it sound like a good idea or not a good idea? Like, we've seen this before. So with these large scale housing projects, something that matters, say it in every single video, location matters. And another part of this, he's saying ultra low tax and ultra low regulations. The ultra low tax sounds good, but those ultra low regulations, again, will these builders just start skimping out and being cheap on their quality? And if a lot of these problems start to arise where they put it in a bad location or the eventual quality of those homes starts to go down, that could affect the economy because now you have a lot of homes that started up here in value and then now all of a sudden they're not up here anymore. They've actually gone lower in value because of the quality, because of the bad location. Moving on to another kind of sensitive subject is he wants to ban mortgages for undocumented people and immigrants. So as of now, there is currently no law that actually prevents this if they can do it and maneuver it the right way. People from out of the country have been buying and selling real estate for years, and it has been kind of a crucial part to the economy. One thing that this could potentially do is it could help to stabilize the market because now you have more inventory available for current US residents to actually buy. And we all know, because I've already said it, but supply and demand rule. If there's a high amount of supply and not as much demand, that just drives the prices down, and that's what could happen. And just to be fair, right now, there isn't really an exact number on how many of these properties are being bought and sold by undocumented immigrants, so it is yet to see if this will actually make a difference. One of his policies that I think could really affect the market in a really positive way is he wants to give tax incentives and a lot more support and to promote that first-time home buyer. Y'all know that I personally believe that home ownership is so important. I believe everyone should look at buying a home. In almost every situation, it is going to be way better than renting. Yes, there are very certain situations where renting is better, but most situations, if you're settled and you're going to live somewhere, buy a house. It is so much better. So I believe that if there's more incentives, tax benefits, whatever the case is, to promote first-time home ownership, I'm all for it. But I will have to say, one thing that this could create is more competition. We already have a shortage, so if there's more people now that are able to buy the exact same amount of houses, supply and demand sound like a broken record, but again, the supply is going to be the same. We already have a shortage, and now you have an increase in buyers. You're gonna have competition, just gonna drive the prices up. So now what does all of this mean for the average American looking to either buy or sell property? So as a whole, I think that the plan is decent. I think he does understand how important housing is. I mean, both candidates coming into it had some, ideas and some plans on what they wanted to do with real estate because they know it is so crucial to the economy. But some of the plans, like the lower regulations, just don't sit well with me. We already have a problem with, new home builders cutting corners and not doing everything right. So that kind of doesn't sit well with me. I'd be interested to see how he would regulate the low regulation. But the new tax incentives are huge, and that could sway people that were kind of already on the fence of should I buy, should I rent? So that could be really big. The question for the seller though becomes, if I sell my house, what am I going to be able to buy? Is my mortgage going to look good? Am I going to have to pay a crazy arm and a leg? Am I not really going to have any equity left because the equity from my other house is now completely going to the new house? What is that going to look like? And what does all this mean for investors? I mean, people looking to buy or even sell real estate for investment purposes. I think the biggest thing is going to be this ultra low tax thing for builders. For investors who like to build single family homes or investors looking to do commercial, large scale housing projects, this could be a really big deal and save people millions of dollars on taxes. But be cautioned because this does mean companies like BlackRock will have an opportunity to come in and swoop up and buy possibly even more if they get even more tax benefits. And I know people already don't like those companies for coming in, buying up all these properties and charging crazy on rent. And if something like that happens, that could honestly negate the effects of all the other regulations and proposals he puts into play. So with all of these changes that could possibly come, I do hope though that in the next 4 years, there are more homeowners with more of those people actually looking to invest in real estate, because I truly believe in the power of real estate and all of its benefits. But one thing we'll have to do is we'll just have to simply wait and see.